On today's show, the Cleveland Cavaliers are in a slump, but right now is the right time for them to be in a slump. I'll tell you why on today's edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, 92.3 The Fan, and a number of other stops along the way. And I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. A proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, because right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Just got to win one $5 bet, and $200 in bonus bets is yours. The Cleveland Cavaliers are slumping. They're not playing their best basketball of the season. They've lost 3 consecutive games. They will look to snap that losing streak tonight in Phoenix against the Suns as the West Coast trip continues with yet another 10 o'clock Eastern time tip-off. I will be talking about that game and what to expect a little bit later on in the show, but I want to talk about what the Cavs have been lately, because they have not been the team that we have seen throughout the course of the season over the last couple of weeks. I think that so far, the biggest win of the season was unquestionably the game in Boston against the Celtics on February 28th. There's no doubting that. There's no disputing that. That was the peak of the Cavs season so far. And if that is the peak of the regular season for the Cavs, I think that's a good thing. Truthfully, I think that no matter what, even if they were still playing great basketball, say at this point they had won 19 consecutive games, I don't think that they would have topped that peak. But they are in the month of March, which in the NBA is the real dog days of the season. We had this conversation a little bit in the month of January, and that is certainly a slower time in the season. But I think that right now is the slowest time of the season for the NBA. And it's not that the interest isn't there, because the interest is there. It's not that guys don't care, because guys do care. It's that, you know what, they've played a lot of games. The playoffs are on the horizon. They have things to look forward to. And when you're in the position that the Cavs are in, where they're not playing for a ton, like we can talk about battling OKC for the best record in basketball and how that might matter, but I don't think that's something that's necessarily on the minds of the Cavs right now. I don't think that is something that is crossing their thought process on a daily basis. It's something I asked Kenny Atkinson about before one of the recent home games. I don't remember which home game. And he said they don't pay attention to that. Like, they don't mind that. They know where they're at in the standings, certainly, and they know that they have a sizable lead over the Boston Celtics for the best record in the Eastern Conference, but they've not paid attention to where they're at. And you know, that has not come into their thought process as far as I know from what I've been told. Now, can that change as the season rolls along? Sure. Right now, they're a game behind OKC for the best record in basketball. I don't know who would have the tiebreaker at this point. I think the Cavs probably would own the tiebreaker over OKC. So having the same record with OKC, I do think would give them home court advantage with those two teams splitting the season series. But so far in the month of March, the Cavs are 7-3. It's not bad. Like, that's fine for a team that is 56-13. The fact that 3 losses come right in a row is obviously going to be notable, but they're 7-3 in March. It's not as if they've been awful. Have they been great? No, but they haven't been awful either. So the Cavs are this month 11th in offense and 15th in defense. The last couple of games that the Cavs have played really hurt their defensive rating where they are, because they had been having a really good stretch defensively from the start of February, and they're not bad in that time. But does it matter that they're playing not great right now? I don't think it does. I don't think it matters for a couple of reasons. And the first one is, we have seen a lot of good teams, a lot of great teams, a lot of teams that have won the championship. Really, I don't want to say take the month of March off, But we've seen them play through this malaise, I guess, that the Cavs are going through. So go back a couple of years. The Denver Nuggets, who won the title in 2023. And of course, none of these teams are the same as the Cavs, and the Cavs are different because they're a unique team, but all these teams were unique too. So 2023, the Denver Nuggets, in the month of March, they went 7-7. They, despite having Nikola Jokic, who at that point I think was probably considered the best player in the world, had won the MVP the year before, had a great season that year, didn't win MVP that year, but did win the title. Joel Embiid won the MVP that year. Despite that, they were 20th in offense in the month of March. 20th. They were 15th in defense. Does that sound like a championship team? No, it doesn't. That team won the championship 3 months later. In 2022, the Golden State Warriors went 5-11 in the month of March. They were 23rd in offense and 17th in defense. Now, part of that is Steph Curry got hurt. I don't remember if it was knee or his ankle, but he got hurt in the middle of that month, mid to late March. I don't remember the exact date, but it was a game against the Celtics. He got hurt at that point, and the Warriors were very clearly not the same team. He returned for the playoffs, and then they went on to win the title. But during that month, the Warriors started it with a 5-game losing streak, and Steph played in every game in that 5-game losing streak. It wasn't as if, they were just humming along in the month and then Steph got hurt and things went south. Things were kind of going south before Steph got hurt that month. And then they ended up losing 7 of 8, and he did play in the first loss of that stretch, but they lost 7 of 8, and they took a real nosedive to close the season and still found a way to win the title. I don't think that, and I didn't look this up, I don't think that any of the teams that played in the COVID seasons, so the year the Milwaukee Bucks won the title, which would have been the 2021 season, and the year the Lakers won the title, which would have been the 2020 season, I don't think those teams were worth looking at just because the difference in terms of the calendar at that point, right? Like the Bucks won the title in July. The Lakers won the title in October. Obviously, the season was suspended and pushed back quite a ways. So I didn't look at that because I didn't think it was worth looking at that just because the seasons didn't line up the same as they do right now and as they did before the pandemic. But you get to 2019, Toronto Raptors win the title that year. They were 9-6 in March. They were not crazy different from who they were, but they dropped some games. They were not a great team in the month of March. They were a pretty average team in the month of March. Then you get back to the Golden State Warriors again, who won it. This was the last year LeBron was in Cleveland, the 2018 NBA Finals. That Golden State Warriors that had at that point a healthy Klay Thompson, a healthy Kevin Durant in his prime, Steph Curry, Draymond Green. Yes, that team had been there, done that, which makes them not the same as the Cavs because the Cavs have not yet proven it. But that team went 7-7 in the month of March. They were 19th in offense. A team that had Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, all those guys, was 19th in offense in the month of March that year. They won the title. They had no problems winning the title. They were 12th in defense in the month of March. So basically what I'm saying is that this stuff happens. Great teams go through stretches where they're not great teams. Very few teams ever in NBA history have been great teams the entire season. Every team is going to go through a stretch where they're not playing their best basketball. It's happened with the Cavs now twice this year. It's happened with Oklahoma City at points. It has happened with Boston at points. It has happened with almost every team in NBA history. And even the two that you can look at that won 70+ games, one of those teams did end up going through a stretch like this, and it was in the postseason, which gets me to my next point. Yeah, the Cavs are struggling. If you're a Cavs fan, would you rather the Cavs be a team that is struggling during the month of March when it's kind of appropriate to struggle? When you look at the fact that they have a lot of games in a very short time span and that they have invested a lot into the season. And truthfully, I think they are looking ahead to the postseason a little bit, and they're starting to be able to see the bigger picture in their real season that is approaching. Would you rather them struggle through that and get through it, which they will, because this is a team that is too good to not get through a little bit of a March swoon? Or would you rather them play great basketball in March and great basketball in April, and then the middle of May comes and they run out of gas? Because we've seen that before too. And I bring up the 73-9 Golden State Warriors, because that team didn't go through a slump like this in the regular season. I don't know what their metrics were for every single month, but when you win 73 games, you really can't afford to have a bad month and not find a way to 10 losses. So they famously went 73-9 in the regular season. And we remember the fact that they were up 3-1 in the finals and the Cavs came back and won that series. Like, that is the thing that everybody will remember. But the thing that we forget is the Warriors actually lost as many games in the playoffs that year as they did in the regular season. Like, that Warriors team did not blow through the postseason and then they got to the Cavs and they just ran into a brick wall. No, they were down 3-1 against Oklahoma City in the Western Conference Finals. It wasn't as if it was just some cakewalk for them to get to the NBA Finals that year. They were at a point where they could have been eliminated any of 3 games. If Klay Thompson didn't have one of the greatest game 6s of all time, they would have not made the finals. Like, that was a team that very much was not necessarily playing its best basketball at the right time. That is something that does matter here. They lost a game in the first round to the Houston Rockets. They lost a game in the second round to the Portland Trailblazers. Then they played 2 7-game series. So basically, that's a team that lost 9 games in the regular season and then lost 9 games in the postseason. So their stretch of bad basketball probably actually came in the Western Conference Finals. Now, the Cavs having a stretch of bad basketball in the month of March does not mean that they are exempt from having another stretch of bad basketball when the postseason arrives. But wouldn't you rather get out of the way right now? Wouldn't you rather that this be something that the Cavs can get past? Because while this team has not seen very much adversity this season because they've been so great and they've dominated so many opponents, wouldn't you rather them deal with it now and be able to lean upon this when the postseason does arrive and those tougher challenges that will certainly pop up, when they do pop up, be able to look back at this experience and draw from it and overcome the future obstacles because of it? I think that's an easy answer. And I'm not saying that you should be sitting on your couch on, a Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday night watching these 10 o'clock tips and be happy that the Cavs aren't playing great. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think that all of this stuff is pretty understandable. And I think at some point it's going to end. Maybe it'll be tonight against Houston or against Phoenix. Sorry. Maybe it'll be Sunday against Utah. Maybe it'll be against Tuesday against Portland. Maybe it'll be all 3 of those games. I don't know. But at some point, it will come to an end. And the Cavs will look like the Cavs again because they've proven to be so great that they're going to get out of this. And I really think that you just would rather have it in the month of March than at any point in the regular season. One of the reasons I don't think that this is going to be something to worry about in the postseason, that's the rest aspect. We're going to talk about that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and so much more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. Maybe you need to post a job, and that is something free and simple and within a day with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. So visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That is Upwork.com, Upwork.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is, of course, America's #1 sports book. And right now, with March Madness here, FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That is $200 in bonus bets. All you got to do, win that first $5 bet, and you get 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, even who's going to be cutting down the nets. There were some upsets on Thursday. There might be some more upsets on Friday. You can bet on them over at FanDuel. There might be a few underdogs to have your eyes on. I know there was certainly one that I got right on Thursday. I hope you got it right too. But a certain team from the state of South Carolina looked like they could not score the basketball for the first 20 minutes of the game, and it certainly cost them. That was one that I saw coming. Maybe you saw that one coming as well. And tournament games happening almost every day. There's always something exciting to bet on over at FanDuel. And the app is simple to use. When you win, you get paid instantly. There is no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Again, new customers with FanDuel, win your first $5 bet, $200 in bonus bets with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said at the top of the show, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. Make sure you're also subscribed to the Locked On Cavs daily newsletter. It is your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. You can sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. That is lockedondaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Cavs newsletter. So I don't think that much of this is a big issue, because I do think a good part of what the Cavs are going through right now is I think they're tired. I really do think they're tired. So if you think back to the start of the season, on paper, the early season schedule looked a little bit more challenging than it turned out to be. Like, you know, if you want to rewind to mid-October and we played the schedule games, like, oh, well, those first 3 games are gimmies. You've got Toronto, you've got Detroit, you've got Washington, 3 bad teams. Of course, Detroit turned out to be pretty good. Toronto and Washington didn't. Then you've got the Knicks, the Lakers, the Magic, the Bucks twice. The Pelicans were supposed to be good. They turned out to stink. The Warriors were going to be good. And at that time, they really were. So you looked at that schedule, it's like, man, there are some really, really tough games here. They didn't all turn out to be that way. But one of the biggest things that was challenging for the Cavs is they didn't have back-to-back days off from the start of the season on October 23rd until after the second game they played against the Pelicans, which was on November 20th. That was the first time this season that they had back-to-back days off. And right now, they are in a stretch similar to that. Now, I do think that it was a little bit easier for them to power through that stretch, because what is different about that stretch than this one? Before that stretch started, the Cavs had not played any basketball games. They were fresh. Before this stretch started, the Cavs had played roughly 57, 58, 59 basketball games before they got in the month of March, where they have 16 games in 29 days. And the Cavs are not unique in this. A lot of teams in the month of March have really difficult schedules. Go look at what the Indiana Pacers are dealing with right now. It looks very similar to what the Cavs dealt with last year, because what do those two teams have in common? Last year, the Cavs went to Paris. This year, the Pacers went to Paris. So that means their schedule in the month of March really does get screwed up. And right now, the Cavs are on their annual, what feels like an annual West Coast March road trip, because their arena gets taken over by college basketball. It normally happens a little bit earlier in the month because of the MAC conference tournament. Now with the NCAA tournament in town, that's why the Cavs go out west this time of year every year, because their arena is unavailable to them. So the thing that I keep coming back to is rest. They have played several games without multiple days off. And during this stretch, you look at even some of the wins: Portland, Chicago, Miami, Charlotte, Milwaukee was decent. Brooklyn, most of those games, the Cavs didn't play all that well. They found a way to win. I actually think they played very similar to those games in these 3 losses. The opponents have just been better. Orlando, I think, is a better team than Portland, Chicago, Miami, Charlotte. I do. And Brooklyn too. I think the Clippers and Kings are better than all those teams that I listed off. But then there's the game against Memphis. And that is the game that I keep coming back to. The Cavs won that game 133-124. That was a game that was not as close as 9 points. The Cavs' deep reserves were outscored in the final 3 minutes and change by 11 points. It got much tighter than it should have been. In reality, when the two teams were playing their key players, the Cavs won that game by 20. And it was really not necessarily even that close. Prior to the game against Memphis, the Cavs had 2 days off. They played Tuesday against Brooklyn, and then they played Friday against Memphis. So Wednesday and Thursday, they did not have a basketball game. And I thought it showed there. So right now, they're in a stretch where they don't have very many days off. Of course, tonight's game against Phoenix will be the 3rd and 4 nights, as the game against the Kings was the 3rd and 4 nights. Tonight will be the 4th game in 6 nights. That is a tough thing to deal with when you get this deep into the season. And I know minutes for the starters are down, and I think that will still be a good thing in the long run, but that doesn't necessarily take all of the toll of a long regular season away. I don't think that's something that does that. And truthfully, the Cavs have been a much better team when they've been rested. And again, this is not something that is unique to them. For the most part, teams are better when they're fresher. Like, that is part of this game. That is why I do think that the minutes load for the Cavs will be a big advantage when the postseason arrives, because those guys should be fresher. And of course, again, the Cavs are not the only team going through this. But so far this season, the Cavs are 14-2 when they have 2 or more days of rest before a game. Those 2 losses came against the Pacers the weekend after they beat OKC, which was the start, really that game, that win against OKC was the start of their first lull of the season. The same way I think the win against Boston was the start of their second lull of the season. So they lost that game, and they lost the game to the Atlanta Hawks the night before Thanksgiving. Those are the only 2 games that they've lost when they have 2 days of rest or more. In these games, the Cavs are essentially averaging 125.5 points per game. They are just absolutely a dominant offense. And when they don't have that much rest, so when they're playing either on the second night of a back-to-back, which they actually do have a really good record on, and listen, there are not very many splits that you're going to find that say, the Cavs actually haven't been good in this situation. Like, no, they've been good in every situation because they're a great team. But when they don't have multiple days of rest, they're 42-11, which is a tremendous record. Like, that is an outstanding record, but it's not exactly who they are either. Like, they have been a better team with rest than without rest. It doesn't mean they're bad without rest, but they've been better when they are rested. They've essentially, in those games, averaged 121 points per game. So that is something that tells me, and I've not necessarily looked up their shooting splits and, what they're shooting from 3-point range when rested versus not. And of course, there can be a rust versus rest debate, which we will inevitably have the week leading up to the first playoff game. We will talk about that at some point. But I think that this is something that matters here. And I think that Memphis win really speaks to that. I think if you look at some of the other wins that they've had this season, like when they beat OKC, they had 2 days off before. When they beat Boston in Boston, they had 2 days off before. That is something that I do think matters. I think the Cavs, and you can say this about any team, I think the Cavs are a better team when they're well rested. That's not breaking news. That's not shocking stuff. But I do think it's relevant. And right now, they're not a rested team. But that doesn't matter. And I'll tell you why it doesn't matter next, right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Daylight savings time may have snuck up on us again, and you might be really feeling that lost hour of sleep. But 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching basketball games, squeezing in a round of golf like me, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. The tournament's going on, right? You're staying up late. The Cavs are on the West Coast. You're probably staying up late like I am. I've been up to 4 o'clock in the morning every single night this week because the Cavs have done that to my sleep schedule. Like, that is what happens. And if that's the case, maybe a 5 Hour Energy, something that could be right for you, something to give you that little pick me up, get you through that next day, because it can be hard staying up super late, watching sports, doing all the things that we want to do, enjoying maybe that extra sunshine. You want to be out. You want to be doing more. Your body's not adjusted. You might be used to being inside all winter, still trying to break out of that. 5 Hour Energy can help get you through that. So what you need to do is head to 5hourenergy.com. to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack and have it delivered right to your door. You need one now? Grab a 5-hour energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. Again, you can head to 5hourenergy.com. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build and practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes the win easier. And at Epicor, the All-Stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things that we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. Responding to price changes is easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with a global vision, they will equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most out of every hard-working minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier finds the lane. Discover your success at easierwithepicor.com. That is easierwithepicor.com.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. And I mentioned all the rest stuff and why the fact that the Cavs are not rested right now is not something that should concern you. Because when the postseason arrives, which is what matters at this point, right? Like, there is not a regular season game that the Cavs could win or lose the rest of the season that should change your opinion on who they are. I think they've proven all that they need to prove during the regular season. They're a great team. Doesn't mean they're going to win the title. No, it means they can win the title. Doesn't guarantee it. They're a team that's capable of that. They've proven that. When they're not well rested, they're not at their best. That's not unique to them. But when the playoffs arrive, yes, the games become tougher. There's no doubt about that. But I also think that the opportunity to be well rested arises. And one of the things that the Cavs will have to their benefit is they'll have a full week off. They will play their final regular season game on April 13th at home against the Indiana Pacers. And I don't know who's going to or not play in that game for the Cavs. I mean, we've seen in the past where starters, key players really don't play in that game for teams that the game does not matter. For the Cavs, maybe it matters for the number one overall seed. It's not going to matter in the Eastern Conference. So they'll have a week off before then. And that will be something that I think will be hugely beneficial to them. But then in the first round, with there being 16 playoff teams and 8 playoff series going on between the two conferences, there are a lot of off days because the NBA doesn't want to have 4 playoff games going every single day because they want everyone to be able to watch as many games as possible. And it's really hard to do that if you've got 4 playoff games going on a Tuesday night. Now, will every team play on weekend days? Yes. But it's hard to have 4 playoff games on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. Not saying it won't happen, but what I'm saying is you get extra off days. Like, those series can drag out a little bit. And if the Cavs take care of business in the first round, the way that I think they probably will, whether they play Atlanta, Orlando, Miami, Chicago, if that happens, well, then they will get more time off because I don't think that the 4-5 series is going to be a quick one, whether that's between Indy and Milwaukee, Indy and Detroit, Detroit and Milwaukee, whatever combination. That's not going to be something that I think results in a sweep. So the Cavs are going to then enter that series well rested. And that series is not one that's going to be every other day. Now, it will not take as much time as a 7-game first-round series will. There will be fewer breaks. But when the Cavs get to the postseason, they're not going to be playing every other day until the conference finals. That is when things change every other day. And even then, if the Cavs and Celtics or whoever wins to get to that series, which, let's face it, I think we all anticipated being the Cavs and Celtics. If those two teams make quick work of their second round opponents, the first two games will be played, and then there's going to be a 3-day gap, and there will be time to get rest. And then, of course, when the NBA Finals arrives, there are built-in off days. Yes, there are a couple of times where you play a game, have a day off, play another game, but there are some built-in off days in the NBA Finals schedule that is preset. So what I'm saying is the Cavs have been a really good team when they've been well rested. And when the postseason arrives, there are more opportunities to be well rested than there are in the month of March. And I do think part of the thing with the Cavs, I don't know the focus has been there. I don't know that they've been super locked in right now. That's not a big deal. We've seen what this team's capable of when they are super locked in, and we have no reason to believe that there'll be anything but that when the postseason arrives. Now, for tonight's game, the Cavs take on the Suns. They look to snap a 3-game losing streak. Their injury report is clean. Everybody is playing. I think that's a really good sign, and I'm very interested. The guy I am most interested in seeing is Darius Garland, because I do think that, and he did not play against Sacramento. He was out for resting purposes. I do think that he has looked better in the last 3 games, and I think that giving him an additional day off here, having him be a guy that is operating with 2 days rest right now while the rest of the team is not, but he is, that's something that could really benefit him. And I'm very interested to see what he looks like. I'm also interested to see how does Evan Mobley follow up a great game, because he was spectacular against Sacramento the other night. Is that going to be something that carries over, or is Evan Mobley going to have an average game? I think that the stars are aligned for him to be great again tonight in Phoenix. But no matter what happens against the Suns tonight, I will be back with you first thing tomorrow morning, right here, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else, or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Cavs on YouTube. Also, if you want more Cavs content, again, go subscribe to my Substack, The Inside Shot. You can check it out there. You can become a free subscriber and get a little bit of a free preview for what I'm writing every single day about the Cleveland Cavaliers. That is different stuff from the podcast here. So thank you again for making this your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. And if you're watching on YouTube on the way out, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will be back tomorrow.